Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'll be targeting pike and hopefully some big ones at that as well. To do this I've come to my local reservoir where I'm a syndicate member and I'm going to be dead baiting. Throughout this video I'll be showing you my rigs, my baits, my tactics, my general thoughts about how I'm approaching this session. Right now though I need to get set up, get some rods in the water and yeah, try and catch a few fish. So today I've come down to my local reservoir. It's only about a 10-minute drive for me and I do a lot of fishing here. It's got all sorts of species in here. I'm a syndicate member, so I try and get the most out of my ticket throughout the year. There are a lot of pike in this big expanse of water. There's lots of small ones, lots of jacks, but also there's a few bigger ones as well, which I'm hoping to get amongst today. The weather conditions today seem pretty ideal. There's a nice gentle breeze pushing across the water. It's not too sunny, it's not too cold. There's a little bit of drizzle forecast, but it's mainly going to be dry. And I found on this reservoir in particular, in these conditions, the pike are usually up for a feed. The tactics I'm using today are leisured dead baits. This is a very weedy venue, so I've had to alter or adjust my rig slightly. So throughout this video, I'll go into much more detail about that. For now though, I'm going to get some rods in the water and try and catch a few fish to show you. Now, the reason I've started in the swim that I'm in is basically just based on previous form. I was up here last week for my first session of the pike season, and after spending a few hours in several swims around the corner from here, I popped into here and about half an hour later I had my first fish of the season, and it was a really nice one. Unfortunately, I don't have my camera out with me, but another YouTuber called Paul Terry, he's got a channel called PT's Gets Hooked. He had his camera out, we were chatting away, and he filmed a little bit of that footage. Now, I'm not going to sit here for my whole session. I've got until about 3 o'clock, so I've got about 5.5 hours left. I'm going to sit out here, it's probably to about 11 o'clock, so about another hour and a half, and then I'm going to walk around and try some different areas. It is quite a difficult place to fish at the moment because there's so much weed still in the water. Particularly around the edges, there's big beds of lily pads, which can make bringing fish through really tricky. So I'm trying not to pick spots where I've got a real thick, deep bed of lilies in front of me. This spot here, I've got a small section of lilies. They are starting to die off, so it's not too difficult to bring those fish through them. In case you're wondering what my setup is for today, I'm actually using my carp gear. So I've got my Shimano TX2 rods in a 3.25 pound test curve. I've matched those with Shimano 10,000 bait runner reels. Loaded on there is some 53 pound braid. I've also got some bite indicators and some bite alarms. So put all that together, my bite indication should be really good and I should spot any bites straight away. Okay, we're into a fish. Oh wait, has it come off? Oh, I think it's come off. Yeah, it must have come off. What a shame, missed the first bite. I was just doing a piece of the camera and the left-hand rod rolled off. Unfortunately, nothing was on the end when I struck into it, but rod's only been out for about 20 minutes or so, so it's a good start, it's a good sign of hopefully things to come. Rod's back out there now, fresh bait on, let's see what happens. here we go. Oh, don't know if I've got a big ball of weed or a big ball of weed and some fish on the end as well. It's come to the surface quite quick. I've got a feeling there might be a fish on. Wait, let's see. Coming in. Yeah, there's a fish at the back there. There we go. Whee! Alright, there he is. Away from my other line. Fairly nice one. Might have to get in the water to land him. Oh, he's jumping. Oh, it's a nice one. Yeah, it's quite a nice one. There we go. Yeah, nice. Let's try and get this weed off the line. That was on the sardine. Right, there we go. First fish of the session. Low double figure pike. Taken on my pop-up rig using a whole sardine. And yeah, I wasn't sure if the fish was on or not. A big clump of weed. It wasn't until we got a bit closer in, it started jumping, leaping out of the air. Hopefully the camera picks that up. But yeah, lovely, lovely fish, lovely condition. Yeah, the colours are amazing, aren't they? Only been here about 45 minutes, up to an hour. So yeah, happy to get this one on the bank. Obviously lost one earlier. So yeah, nice to get this one on the bank. It just shows my tactics are working, even though I'm fishing in that heavy weed. So what I'll do now, get this one back, and I'll show you exactly how I caught it, the rig and the bait, and how I set it up. Right, just got her resting in the net. Make sure she's nice and recovered before we release her. But she's looking ready. Right, she's kicking away. There she goes. Right, happy days, first fish on the bank. I need to get all reset up now. So what I'll do, I'll show you exactly the bait I'm using, the rig I'm using, how I set it all up, and then we'll get it back out there. Right, so here is the setup that I just used to catch that lovely double figure pike. Nice and simple, it's a running ledger setup. Okay, so in this hand here, my braided main line, and that comes down to a swivel that attaches to my trace. Now in between there, I've got a stem, and that's what my lead attaches to. And you'll notice it's a little poly ball there. The idea being that lead will sit into the weed, and that poly ball will lift the line off and out of any weed. Okay, and that's just to help reduce any resistance. If that line is sitting in the weed and the pike tries to take it, it might get caught up a little bit, feel a little bit of resistance and drop it. There's also a little bit of foam there just to stop the ring from going all the way down to where my hooks are. Now here's my wire trace leading onto my hooks. I actually bought some of these off eBay, ready tied up. I'll put a link in the description below. So you can buy them with the hooks 3 inches apart, 4 inches apart, 5 inches apart. You can select what you want. And you can select if you want them barbed, semi-barbed or barbless. So I've gone for semi-barbed, which I'll explain in a bit more detail in a second. Here you've got a nice long length of wire trace there. You notice I've got some little shot put weights, which again I'll explain in a bit more detail in a minute. Coming down to 2 treble hooks, and these ones are 3 inches apart. just to match up the size baits I'm using. If I was using like a whole mackerel, I'd probably use the ones that are 5 inches apart. But yeah, 3 inches seems ideal for the sardine. Now I find this sort of size bait is ideal. It's not too big, it's not too small. And obviously a sardine, it's nice oily fish, giving off loads of scent for ages. Okay, I'm not going to cut the head off or anything, I'll keep it as a whole bait. Now like I say, I'm fishing in weed, so I need to have my hook bait popped up off the deck to make sure those hooks are not getting tangled up in the weed itself. So to do that, I'm using this. Again, bought it from the same guy on eBay. It's a couple of little poly balls with a little link at the end. Now the idea is I'm going to thread that through the fish and put those into the fish's mouth. So it's going to sit up like that in the water. So the first thing we need to do is measure this against the fish. So like I say, those 2 poly balls are going to sit in the fish's mouth. They're not going to sit up like that, they're going to sit inside. So once I've held those in the right position, I can see where the rest of this wire trace is going to finish. Okay, so just there. So what I'm going to do is going to mark that with my finger and get a nice long baiting needle. Okay, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to insert that inside the fish. I'm going to push it up and get it to come out through the fish's mouth. I'll then attach the end of that trace onto my baiting needle, close the gate over, and then it's just a case of pulling that through, and then I'm going to open the mouth up and just manipulate those balls down inside its gob. Now, to make sure that those poly balls that go through the fish don't come off at any stage, I'm actually going to attach it to the eye of the hook on the hook that's furthest back. Okay, so this has actually got some tubing on to make it nice and tidy. So I'm just going to pierce a little gap where the eye is. Like so. I'll go through the other side as well. So I've got a little hole there now to attach that little trace onto. And then it's just a case of threading that through the hole. Like so, and close that back off. Okay, so you see now there's no chance that that can come off at any point. Now, I mentioned earlier that these hooks are semi-barbed, and basically what that means is that 2 of the hooks on the treble are barbless and 1 is barbed. You put the barbed hook into the fish, and that basically just gives you the extra security. The bait's not going to come off. So I've put the top hook here where that trace naturally finishes, and then the bottom hook closer towards the fish's head, like so. And just to help secure that all together, it's going to use a little bit of bait elastic. Obviously sardines are fairly soft fish. I'm trying to chuck this a long way, so there's a good chance the bait could come off on the cast, so just a bit of extra security there, not too much. And there we have it. Now earlier I mentioned those little shot weight there. The idea is I want this bait to come slowly down through the water column and just sit on top of the weed like that. So I'm fishing on the bottom still, but it is out the way of any weed. So if you're a carp angler, think of it as like adding rig putty to your pop-up to make sure it sits just right. Okay, the good thing about these shot weights is you can take them on and off. What I'll do, I'll test it in the margin. If it sinks down too quickly, I'll take some of the shot off. If it doesn't sink enough, I can add some more on. So yeah, the idea is there's just enough on there. It's going to slowly sink down. If it sinks down too quickly, it could bury itself in the weed still. As soon as it touches a little bit of weed, it should stop. Right guys, I have moved round to the opposite bank essentially. Gave it another half an hour in my first swim, nothing else happened, and just have a bit of a gut instinct about coming over here. The wind isn't pushing in quite so hard, the water is a lot calmer. I just feel like in that warmer water, the sun is coming down onto it, that the bait fish are more likely to be hanging around in this area, and hopefully if the bait fish here the pike are too. I did fish this bank last week as well, a little bit further up behind me, and had my biggest fish of the year so far. I haven't fished this swim before, but there's a lovely little corner down that way, and yeah, I feel like in that shallow water, with the sun hitting it, the bait fish will be there, and hopefully the pike will be too. Both rods have been cast out, so I'm going to give about half an hour, freshen up the baits and go again. But yeah, I've got about an hour and a half left of fishing now. Fingers crossed I can get one more on the bank for you guys to see. So as with most swims on this reservoir, I've got those bank of lilies just in front of me. Now they're a bit thicker in the swim, so what I've done, I've used my extra long bank sticks to keep my rods elevated up, which is helping to keep my line out of the water for longer and then not touching those lily pads at all. It seems to be working so far. All I've got to do now is wait for a bite. Right, line's just come out the clip. Yeah, it's running. Oh yeah, we're into another fish. Doesn't feel that big. It's come off. That's a shame. Only a little one, I think. But still, really nice to have another fish to show you guys. Never mind. Let's get back out there. Right guys, well unfortunately time is coming to an end. I haven't been able to bring you any more fish for the camera unfortunately, but it's been nice to be out for a few hours, obviously getting that beautiful double figure pike early on. The move around here hasn't paid off unfortunately, although I did get one run and had the fish on for a few seconds, but it came off pretty early on during the fight. So hopefully this video has shown you that even in the really weedy conditions, you can set your rigs up to fish effectively. By using those poly balls, putting it into the fish's mouth, attached it to my wire trace and my hooks, I managed to pop my bait up and it slowly sank so it sat just on top of the weed. It'd be fluttering about nice and naturally, and yeah, it did the job. A pike managed to pick up the bait 3 times in total. Unfortunately, only one of those runs resulted in a fish, but what a lovely fish it was. I will be continuing to fish down here throughout winter. I'll be using various tactics, so make sure you look out for all my future videos. I will put links in the description below of all the tackle, rods, reels, etc. I've been using today, in case you want to go check those out. Until next time, I'll catch you guys again soon.